Welcome, Pisces, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 16th of February for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the themes of a big week, which includes the sun's return to your sign on Wednesday. But on the screen, I'll share the context of the planets as we go into the week, then go through each of the powerful influences, unpacking those in a way which gives you a really clear picture of what you can expect. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A warm welcome. If you're new here and yet to subscribe, please help the channel to continue to thrive and do so now. So it's a week when we have a solar eclipse on Tuesday for the first time in 8 years, but in the most psychological part of your chart, or the chart that's very much to do with what's not necessarily so obvious, the subterranean energy. But you have an understanding of that because your sign reflects that, very much to do with meditation. Reflection can be to do with working behind the scenes, but also your deeper motivations. But it's a solar eclipse which is in a tense right angle with the planet of freedom, independence, and higher truth, Uranus, which has been shaking things up for you over the last 7 years, giving you brilliant brainwaves at times, but perhaps also seeing you frustrated when things haven't always gone quite as quickly as you would like. But on Wednesday, at the heart of the week, the sun's return to your sign sees it met by the beautiful Venus, the North Node, but also Mercury. And Mercury's forging a stunning alliance to your traditional ruler, Jupiter, this week, which can be really fortunate. But of course, recently we've seen Saturn and Neptune, your modern aquatic ruler, move back into Aries, and they come into an exact conjunction on Friday. So those are the big events on the screen, your event chart. And let's just look at your two rulers. First of all, let's look at the position of Neptune. So very close to Saturn, but they've moved back in what is for you the second house. Now, the second house can be about life foundations, can be about our personal values, how we value ourselves, but also it can be about everyday money. So, Saturn in particular is going to ask you over the next couple of years to work on all those areas. But Neptune is saying that it's important to appreciate the atmospheric side of things, but for sure, Neptune can bring a different, softer energy to the harshness that comes with Saturn. Now, last year, of course, we had the two of them very close together for some time, particularly from the end of May to the start of September. It may have been a time when, around your assets or the way you use money, that there was a little uncertainty. Neptune can be a confusing influence, but also maybe you try to be a bit more realistic in your approach. But they can balance each other out really well. So that's one of your rulers, Neptune. The other, Jupiter, your traditional ruler, continues in the very bright and bubbly fifth house, which is where we showcase charisma, have fun, can be creative or playful, and be very social. It is in a retrograde still, but Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and forges a mutually inclusive energy with Mercury. So, Mercury in your sign can struggle a little bit to clarify a purpose, but here he's saying that the individual ideas you've got, have confidence to share them with people. They're going to like your warmth, your confidence, and your self belief if you can show them, but particularly from when the sun moves into your sign Wednesday, because I feel it's a solar eclipse which could test you a little bit, Pisces, over the next 6 months. If there are parts of your past or your psychology that you're not quite at peace with, and what Uranus can do is create provocative energy. It's a shake up, it's an electric energy. It's pushing you to release what's no longer serving your greater good. So if there are past hurts and upsets, it's to let them go, to come to a point of closure. Not that necessarily they were always just things that happen, but to move into the present more. And that is a process that will be helped by the sun's arrival in your sign midweek. But what Uranus can do is to do with your thinking. So your thinking at times can be changeable and it can affect your emotions. So that's the backdrop for that solar eclipse. But there's no doubt about it, at the start of this week, with the moon initially with Pluto and Mars, there may be something that you do see as an injustice, which is hard to put to one side as we move into this new week. If you feel someone's been disloyal or dishonest, or you have not felt quite as supported in what has been, I think, recently a tender period of the year for you, you may have felt more raw energy, and you may have been more conscious of things that are rooted deep within you. Mars can be quite a tricky up and down energy in the 12th house. And Pluto here, of course, can be coming to terms very deeply to terms with things that are in a cycle of endings. But your strength is your empathy, but also your spiritual understanding and also your atmospheric understanding. And that is very powerful. So maybe the logic of Aquarius means that there needs to be more conversation around those areas and to be a bit more detached. And through that, you can evolve. But as the sun pitches up in Pisces, do be assured your physical energy will improve. You'll feel more self-assured. You'll feel even more alluring, particularly with Venus in that first house, which is great. And your identity is given a big boost. You know, if you do decide to um, spend some money changing your wardrobe, changing your look, I think it's going to be really good for your morale. But equally, the first house can be about where we start something or where we inject something that's ongoing with a greater thrust and drive. And that can happen with the sun because Venus, the node, and Mercury, all in your own sign, are great for the arts, great for music, great for creativity and flair, the things that you have in absolute spades. But what can happen, particularly at the end of the week with Saturn and Neptune, Saturn can see you be too hard on your worth. Neptune can see you erode your worth by doubting yourself. Saturn can almost see you a bit too self critical or harsh. Just be conscious of that. And, you know, the most dominant planet or position in any chart is a very telling one. And in your chart, for this week, it is the part of fortune. So have belief in your philosophies and be proud about them, even if they don't always chime with other people. You can see we do actually have a T square between the Sun, part of fortune, and Uranus. So, but that Sun position, if you have got some judgment on yourself, or there are some things that have happened in your life that were profoundly painful, I'm not saying for an instance that they shouldn't still be part of your history, but if you can use the logic of Aquarius to have a different relationship with those things, it releases the power they have over you if there is hurtful stuff. And because the sun moves into your sign, just as we had that very complex solar eclipse, you can see its choice really for you. You know, you can stick with uh, being affected by other people's views, doubters. The 12th house can be hidden enemies in traditional astrology. And you may be very conscious of who's not entirely all in with you, but it's all about seizing the baton, understanding life is about phases. You've gone through a bit of a tough phase planetary wise recently, but you're coming into the sunlight now. And your uniqueness, your shimmering ability to enchant people with, almost imperceptible way is going to be magnified brilliantly over the next month with the sun's help. Now, to really get the most out the rest of this month, on the screen now, I'm sharing your February forecast. If you've yet to watch it, please do. I go into much more detail about Saturn, Neptune, Aquarius season, the eclipse, Pisces season, And then in the last week of this month, got something to tell you which is really exciting. But there is a challenging energy between Mars and Uranus at the end of the month, which could be a little bit turbulent, and it will help you to know about that. And also, if you'd like to take advantage of my offers on my printed charts, you can get your personal forecast full 12 months from the time of order, plus your life roadmap, and apply Astro 26 at the checkout and get 50% off. If you're interested in soul or karmic astrology, you can order your draconic forecast and chart and get 50% off by adding Draco 26 at the checkout. Take care, all the best, and goodbye.